Hi class, today I'm going to show you how to do a paper litho. Here is my printout. It was made on a Xerox copy machine, so it has to be laser printed, either a Xerox or a laser, not inkjet. Inkjet will not work for this process. What else do I have? I have some oil-based ink. The oil-based ink, you can find it down here in these cans. Do not use this stuff over here. This is the water-based etching ink. It will not work because once it mixes with water, it's going to run everywhere and make a big mess. So make sure you definitely use the oil-based. You need a palette knife for mixing your ink, a brayer for rolling your ink, a bowl of water, a sponge, gum arabic, and this is vegetable oil, and you use that to clean up your ink at the end. I also have a piece of plexiglass because it's easier to carry a wet piece of paper to the press on a plexiglass than to carry it by itself. It might bend and rip. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut my paper. This is the paper I'm going to print on. So we'll cut paper on this table over here. We have a cutting mat. I'm going to show you how to tear paper in case you've never done it. This is called a tear bar. And it's got a sort of, it's not very sharp, like it won't cut your finger or anything, but it's sharp enough to cut paper. You line your paper up with the lines on the mat so that way it's square. And then you can measure it. This one's not. .30. So with a pencil, you can mark it at 15. Take your tear bar. So you can either line it up with your pencil marks, or you can just go to the closest yellow line, and that will ensure that it's perfectly square because it's lined up with this yellow line, and it's going to be lined up with that yellow line. Hold it down, pull it up, walk your hand down, like that. That's how you tear paper. And it gives you like a softer edge instead of if you cut it with a knife, it gives you like a harder edge. Just depends what style you like. But this is sort of the classic way that printmakers do it traditionally. Okay, so we'll bring our paper back over here. I have a pair of gloves. So we gotta get the ink out of the can. Now it's got kind of a gross top layer, but it's okay. We just take it from underneath. I'm not sure exactly how much you'll need. That should be enough though. We're gonna mix into the ink some Easy Wipe. This will just make it flow better. That much. So we're gonna make a long stripe, about the same width as the brayer. And then we're going to roll out a pad. You want to go from it from different directions. And you want it to be as even as possible. If you just go back and forth like this, you might not get it all. It's better to like lift it. That's all right to me. So that's ready to go. Now we're gonna take off my gloves for a second because I have clean hands for this part. I'm gonna start off with a little bit gum arabic. And this is to stick the paper down. And you also pour a little on top. and this chemically prepares the paper. Okay, we take our sponge, some water on it. Okay, we don't want like pools of water, so if there's too much, you just squeeze out your sponge, kind of remove some of the water. But you want to make sure it's damp, because if it's dry and you just roll straight on there with this, it's going to cover the whole thing in ink and it'll ruin it. Okay, so that's looking good. It's damp, but not pooling full of water. So you start in the middle and you go out, and you don't ever go like this, back and forth, because it'll pull the paper and rip it, right? So you want to stay in the same direction and lift like that. You need to get more ink? Get more ink. Okay, sponge it. And the ink kind of comes off the paper. Now remember, it's not a perfect method, right? We're cleaning up kind of the dirty parts. But remember, it's going to look a little bit janky, a little DIY. This technique is not a perfect technique. All right, let's print it. This is the printing press. It's got two blankets on it, the pusher and the cushion. This is the press bed. Now we're going to put down 2 pieces of newsprint. One on the bottom, one on the top. So we're making a little newsprint sandwich. The purpose of that is to protect the press and the blanket. You can see that it's not going to be perfect. It gives it kind of an antique look, and each time you do it, it's going to be slightly different, and that's the fun of this technique. Second time on the same piece of paper, and sometimes the second one comes out better because it has more ink on it that's been building up over time. So we'll see. Yeah, so see how it's a lot darker than before? Sometimes it just needs that extra layer. All right, go look at the rest. Sorry. I just have to do it more than one, that's all. These are the 4 that I printed. You can see they're all a little bit different, and they all look kind of vintage and faded. This one was done first, second, third, fourth, I think. But this one I printed from a previous print, so it had more time to build up the darks. So you can see all the dark spots are a lot darker in this one. Okay, Now I'm just going to do something for fun, taking one of my older ones, and I'm going to double print the bird on the same one. I'm going to print it right there. So you have the original bird, and then you have a ghost bird. All right, now one of the most important parts of the whole process is how to clean up properly. All right, this you can just throw away. This we're going to clean in the sink with water. But this stuff is oil-based ink, so water will not work on it. So we have to use oil. But before we use the oil, we're going to take a razor blade, and we're going to take away the ink like this. Clean off your spatulas like this. We want to get off as much ink as possible. This I'm going to save. Sometimes you can save the ink, but usually when you roll it out, it gets full of dust and paper bits, so it's better just throw it away. So now it's a lot easier to clean this up than if it were full of ink. You can put oil, but sometimes even just water is enough. Let's see. Yeah. If it's that thin, sometimes water can clean it up. All right, but this, you'll need the oil. So we can just get some of it off like that. Now, please don't ever put these in the sink. What happens all the time is students take these, they put them in the sink, and they forget about them. So these should never go in the sink because you don't clean them with water, you clean them with oil. And we don't want the oil in the sink. So we'll just do it here, okay? So the only thing that's going in the sink is this one. It's an annoying sound. Okay, and then you can finish with a wet one, just to get it extra clean at the end. Same with these ones. Get them nice and clean. They go in that red box. This one you also want to clean. You have to use the oily one first. Put it down so it doesn't stab the next person who takes it. Okay, and then pour this out, and you're good to go.